Chapter 7: The Market's Invisible Grip. Welcome to Buyer's Desire. Chapter 7. Ever wonder why certain luxury items feel irresistible? Here's what's really happening. Markets are often imagined as vast, neutral arenas where buyers and sellers simply meet, agree on prices, and walk away satisfied. In reality, they are more like finely tuned orchestras. Every note, pause, and crescendo carefully arranged to elicit specific emotional and financial responses. And when it comes to shaping consumer behavior, the luxury sector is perhaps the most masterful conductor of all. Let's explore how luxury markets really work, starting with the architecture of desire. Think of how often your perception of a product's worth is dictated not by its inherent qualities, but by the way the market frames it. The grip isn't always visible. It exists in the careful balancing of supply, the orchestration of scarcity, and the selective release of products to maintain allure. Did you know that Hermès, for instance, doesn't need to keep its Birkin and Kelly bags scarce? It chooses to. Limited production numbers, opaque waitlist systems, and selective allocation create a perception of exclusivity so strong that buyers accept multi-year waits and inflated resale prices. The grip here is psychological. Scarcity signals value, and value reinforces desire. In global finance, market makers and institutional investors subtly influence liquidity, sentiment, and momentum, often without retail consumers realizing. The same is true in luxury. Price increases, seasonal drops, and limited collaborations are not random. They are calculated moves designed to maintain the market's upper hand over your impulses. Now that we understand the invisible grip exists, let's examine the precise mechanisms at work. So how exactly do brands engineer this grip? Let's look at the specific levers they pull. Introducing the levers of control. Luxury brands operate on a principle economists call artificial scarcity. It's not that they can't make more. It's that making more would dilute the product's symbolic value. Rolex does not flood the market with stainless steel submariners, even though demand far outstrips supply. Instead, scarcity drives secondary market premiums, which in turn enhance the brand's prestige. This artificial scarcity is deliberate. Brands choose limitation not because of production constraints, but to maintain desirability. Chanel controls how many classic flaps reach boutiques. Louis Vuitton restricts certain styles to flagship stores only. These aren't accidents of manufacturing. They're strategic decisions to keep you wanting more. Even discounting can be a form of control. When a brand like Prada or Balenciaga quietly releases past-season items to outlet stores, it isn't generosity. It's strategic ecosystem management. By controlling where and how price reductions occur, they ensure the brand's narrative remains intact while still clearing inventory. Understanding these tactics is empowering. But how do you actually break free? Here's your action plan. Okay, so here is the solution part. The remedy is to swim against the current. To loosen the market's grip, you must learn to spot these levers and see them for what they are: deliberate interventions in supply, perception, and demand. Here are 3 strategies that can help. Firstly, understand the scarcity play. When a product is hard to get, ask whether the scarcity is natural, limited resources, craftsmanship, or manufactured. If it's the latter, recognize that your sense of urgency is being engineered. Secondly, decouple worth from hype cycles. Brands thrive on drop culture, where urgency peaks the moment a new product releases. Instead, train yourself to step back and evaluate it a month later. when the initial frenzy has passed. So, what does all this mean? In conclusion, in the current, you simply drift along. Ultimately, the market's invisible grip isn't about forcing you to buy, it's about subtly shaping the conditions in which buying feels like the logical, even inevitable choice. In fact, luxury brands understand that people don't just purchase objects, they purchase the story of how they got them. Long wait lists, sold-out launches, and whispered release dates create a narrative in which ownership feels like a triumph. The truth is, this grip is powerful. Precisely because it doesn't feel coercive, it's not a hand pushing you forward. No, it's an invisible current you drift along with. Unless you learn to swim against it, once you begin to see markets as systems of influence, rather than neutral exchanges, you gain the ability to participate on your own terms. So, are you ready to take action? You can master the 3 strategies to escape market control. Find the full guide in the book, Buyer's Desire, available now on Amazon. If you found this snapshot of Chapter 7, The Invisible Grip, to be valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button, drop a comment, telling me about the last thing you bought for utility, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter breakdown. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.